Good evening, everybody, and thanks for clicking on to the Thursday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. This is the 2 meter temperature anomalies of the CDAS dot 0.5, and you can see the temperature anomaly through the past fortnight. So, the last 14 days, we have got a very distinct cold across the heart of North America and also across the majority of Western Europe, also indicative of that strong negative North Atlantic oscillation. Now, the upcoming 7 days is a complete 360. It's a complete turnaround where we've got a bit of a blowtorch across North America and also across Europe, also. And you've got cold in average in the very areas that were coldest compared to average in the previous 14 days. Now, we know already the reasons for this big dramatic turnaround in the upper pattern, the Arctic oscillation going from firm negative to firm positive, and then it is expected with a couple of bumps in the road, it is expected to go back towards negative once again. The North Atlantic oscillation also is expected to go to at least back to neutral, if not slightly negative, as we move into the early portions of February here. But your phase 4 and 5 of the MJO right there in the middle portion of December. We've now got it during the final 10 days of January, and with the MJO rotating through phases 6, which promotes blocking across the UK and Ireland, and we actually do have that. So, as you can see here, rotating through 4, 5 into 6 now, and phase 6 correlates to blocking high pressure over the UK and Europe. So here you go, off the GFS extended, there's the big positive over the UK, over western and southwestern portions of Europe, negative across Iceland up towards Greenland also. 2 meter temperature anomalies here, no surprise, upcoming 7 days, you can see the warmer than average conditions across the majority of Europe. So when you actually look at the mean sea level pressure chart here off the GFS extended for the upcoming 7 days, you notice here we've got this deep negative here across the North Pacific, the Aleutians into northwestern North America, and also a very similar, if not mirror image over the Atlantic. So what these troughs are doing, these deep troughs, both at the surface as well as at 500 millibars, what they're doing is driving mild Pacific air and Atlantic air across the continents here. So North America is warming up. We're also seeing the UK and Ireland warming up as well. However, if we look at the jet stream chart here, this is the flat out global view. You can see the very, very flat zonal jet coming off Asia across Japan. We've had a big temperature drop across parts of Eastern Asia, including Japan in recent times. We'll look at that in the global weather report this upcoming Sunday. But with the increase in the temperature gradient, essentially what happens is with the MJO being in phase 4, you've got enhanced convection over Australia and Indonesia. That then transfers warmth and energy northwards, especially when it's in an amplified state. If it's in a weak state, it has less influence on the mid and upper latitudes of the northern hemisphere. But when you've got an enhanced phase of the MJO in phase 4 and 5, that tends to increase the jet strength over the Pacific, extension out of Asia across the Pacific and into North America. That then in turn floods North America with milder air, and you see the same thing taking place over the North Atlantic. But what happens here is essentially Europe turned cold first, then North America turned cold. The NAO peaked in intensity of a negative state, Arctic oscillation, same thing. But what has happened is we have essentially seen the demise of the European cold spell due to the increase in cold over North America. When you've got an increased cold shock coming out of the Arctic region, that then increases the thermal imbalance between Central America and the United States. Increase the temperature, you increase the strength of the jet stream, and that is how we've seen not one but two named storms back to back after the cold spell that took place. So Europe was cold, North America turned cold. By North America turning cold, that then activated the jet stream over the Atlantic and essentially kicked off the storms, wet, windy weather coming back into the UK and Ireland weather pattern. And also then that was the demise of the cold spell as well, because you're starting to push the Atlantic and reintroduce the Atlantic back into the pattern once again. But now that we're starting to see the temperatures warming up over North America, you're neutralizing that imbalance, and then in turn, you're actually going to start to weaken the jet stream. That is the reason why we're going to start to see the jet lift northwards. It is becoming a little bit weaker. Now, this is as we progress through the course of this week, you notice here it becomes more fragmented, more broken up. You've got arms going south, you've got arms going north. It's not that straight, flat zonal flow. Now, notice here that we're strengthening the jet stream over the West Pacific here. We're increasing that thermal imbalance once again due to the cold moving out of China through the Koreas, Japan, and we've got some very warm air across to the south of that here. Now, we are essentially seeing the MJO now in phase 6, which is over the western portion of the Pacific Ocean. But what we're essentially doing is we're losing the imbalance over North America, so we're losing the strength of the jet stream over the Atlantic. And a phase 6 promotes higher pressure over the UK and Ireland, and that looks as if that's going to take place as we move into the weekend, as just shown. But the weakening of the imbalance over North America weakens the Atlantic jet, and therefore with a weaker jet stream, you're allowing the high pressure over Northwest Africa, Iberia and France to then start to migrate northwards up into the UK and Ireland. So that is what's going to happen over the next few days. But essentially, we're not done with the unsettled weather altogether. Now, if we look at, let's have a look and see what the ECMWF is indicating. We looked at the GFS yesterday. Let's have a look and see what the ECM is showing for the upcoming weekend and beyond. So as per explained already, weakening of the jet stream, we're allowing the high pressure that has been strong over Iberia to start lifting north. We still will see weather systems riding around the top of that area of high pressure, that high, not like what we've seen back at the beginning or the end of week 1 of January, where we started to see the high becoming established right over the UK and Ireland, and then it drifted off to the northwest. That is essentially what may happen in the next couple of weeks. We're going to watch that in a little bit more detail probably in tomorrow's video. But I wanted to show you how the pattern gives and then takes away at the same time. So if we play it through the course of today, you can see here that we still have that west to southwesterly flow. We've got a new frontal system edging in off the Atlantic that is going to move through during the course of tonight into tomorrow morning, and then we're left with a legacy of shower activity. Now notice here the high pressure is never far away, especially across the south of the UK and northern France here, but with a tight pressure gradient between 1036 millibars over northwestern France and a fairly deep low near Iceland, we're going to remain fairly windy with plenty of showers blowing in from the Atlantic. If we look at the Europe and North Atlantic pattern, the view, should I say, you can see here what I'm showing. So we've got that deep low pressure system now over between Iceland and Greenland here. Strong area of high pressure over the near continent. We still have that westerly flow coming in, but we've got some fairly cold air getting drafted out of the Baffin Straits over the North Atlantic, and then it is going to then sweep across the northern half of the UK here. But notice the high pressure becoming more established, deflecting systems to the west or the northwest of the UK and Ireland, if you notice here. And then we've got a little system here that comes up during the early portions of next week. Keeping an eye on that high pressure to the east of the UK as well, by the way, because things are going to become a little bit more interesting as we move out of January into the early portions of February, and then we are keeping an eye on where the MJO goes and also the stratospheric situation as well. But you notice here that largely high pressure trying to deflect a fairly active jet to the north as we move out of January into the early portions of February here. But as I've said already, it's all to play for when it comes to the pattern generally. Now, high pressure, I think, is largely in control of England, Wales, and northern France. We're going to have systems moving across the top of that into the northern half of the UK, keeping things fairly unsettled here. And beyond that, well, that remains to be seen. We'll look and see with regards to what the lower stratospheric temperature profile is suggesting over the next couple of weeks in probably the next video, so stay tuned for that. And be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You know the drill by now. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you again tomorrow with more weather updates. Bye for now.